Greetings, everyone. Today I need to talk about a couple of sci-fi books I read that were not great. First one is Consider Phlebas, the first one of the Culture series. And I did not like it. It wasn't bad. It was kind of like spaced out in these different big scenes. The first part of it, I remember being kind of okay. But now that I'm like looking at the chapters, I'm kind of rereading some of the beginning of it. It's like I don't remember the beginning being like this at all. Like there's this ship called the Clean Air Turbulence that later in the book, the main character ends up on, and he's a changer. He's a guy like an alien who can look like different species or humans or whatever, and he changes into the captain. This guy named Craiklin, and he has a relationship with one of them on the ship, and like the other ones, they all kind of knew him, kind of because he got on the ship because originally, as himself, he had to fight somebody, right, and he killed him or something. So it's like none of these people should like him because he's killed one of their crewmates. But then now that I'm rereading the beginning of it, all these people were in the beginning. I just don't remember them for some reason. I don't know if like the ebook that I got like was missing a few chapters or something, because it didn't really seem like it made that much sense to me. I remember this one part called they're on this mega ship, right, and it crashes, and then there's this island he's on, like this planet that's in this orbital, which I assume is like a solar system, like one planet going around a sun maybe, and the culture is like this big advanced race that's going to blow up the orbital. So he's on this island that's going to be blown up eventually, I think, right? Maybe it was a different place that was at. And there's a whole big scene of the spaceship crashing. That's like a whole chapter. It took forever to crash. And like his crew that they went on some mission fighting some guys, but they all kind of ended up, some of them died, some of them got separated. And he's there with this other dude, and they get captured by these cannibals that are like tied him up, and they're like, they got this weird religion and they're gonna eat him. And he ends up like he's got these like poison things like in his fingernails. He can like stab people and like poison them or like bite them, and he's like kind of like a lizard man, I guess. I mean, they don't really explain a lot of what the characters look like, or if they're all human except for him, or like some of them are different races or aliens. I don't know. They don't really explain any of it. So I didn't really get invested in the characters. I didn't really understand any of the relationships, and like they just don't explain a whole lot. They just kind of throw you into this world and they start talking about stuff. So then he escapes the eaters by poisoning that dude, and then he ends up going to this. It's like a big high stakes poker game where he's watching this guy that was his captain, and he's like, I guess, studying what he looks like and his mannerisms so he can become him later, because then he like kills him and takes his place. And he kidnaps his ship, and it didn't really last that long where he just tells all the crew, like, hey, I'm actually Horza, this other guy, that I'm a changer and I can turn into people. Like, they're like, okay, whatever, I guess you're the captain now. What? Okay. So then, like, they go to this place, Scar's World, because that's where the other changers are supposed to be, and they're helping this alien race called the Edirans, but they don't have communicators to talk to each other, so they end up fighting each other. They don't know they're on the same side, but then when they actually do talk to them, they're like, we're not on the same side anyway because we're being dicks or something. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, there's this one part where they kidnapped this, or they had to get out of the big ship in their ship, and they had to like pretty much blast their way through it and cause all this carnage and stuff. And then what was the last part? Oh, the last part, they're looking for this thing that's called a mind. And it's like a giant, I don't even know what it is. They never said. But they said it has the intellect of like a brain that is the size of a planet. But it's more dense than a planet. It's like, I don't even know how you would, like if you had a solid state drive that was as big as a planet and it was just thinking up all these scenarios. That is ridiculous how they explain what it is. But as for what it actually looks like, I don't know. You just kind of imagine a brain, but what different aliens have different kinds of brains. What do we say a brain looks like? Maybe it doesn't look like a brain. Maybe it's just like a ball of light. Maybe it's... I don't know. They never really said. But they said at one point they saw it and it was like a hologram and disappeared. It wasn't really the mind that they were looking for. And then they found the mind and it was like small enough you could carry it around, I guess. I can't imagine it'd be pretty big. I don't know. They don't really explain anything. So we're on this planet, and they go through like the end, like those chapters and chapters of just like fixing this train at the end. Of like they're working on the train. There's this one character that's like a drone, like he just hovers. He's not. He considers himself a person, but he's not really a person. He's a drone. Kind of reminded me of Claptrap from Borderlands. And he's working on the train, and they're over here. And the bad guys that they tied up, he's trying to like get free of these like wires that they wrap around his hands, and he's the other guy that they thought they had killed, he gets a train and starts ramming it towards their train, and it's like it just took forever and ever to end. Like, god damn, this book so pissed me off, so annoying. Like, it just chapter for chapter of nothing that I understood. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. And then I also read this book, Deepness in the Sky by Werner Vinge. I actually had a physical copy of that one. This is one that I abandoned. I DNF'd it, and I picked it back up because I wanted to get some of these books off my TBR. And this one here, oh my god, it's even worse. Like, I kind of enjoyed the beginning of it when I first was reading it. It's basically, you know, The Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's supposed to be about we send DNA off to this planet and spiders get the DNA instead of humans, so then the spiders become super intelligent. There's a planet with a star, and it's called an on-off star. The star lights itself for so many years, and then it turns off for so many years. So the spiders live on this planet, and when the star's off, everything gets super cold, so they have to like dig down into the planet, and they call those things deepnesses. They have like nests of spider nests down there that they live in, and there's different factions going to war with each other, and they're kind of like becoming an industrial society, and they're learning about space and space flight and stuff, but some of them don't really believe it at first. One of them kind of gets the idea that there's aliens coming to them, and it's actually like Chinese humans from thousands and thousands of years ago, right? And the spiders, like, it's so dumb because they describe the spiders as kind of like in steampunk era, like they wear top hats and they wear clothes, like ponchos and like weird kind of clothes, and they ride bicycles sometimes, and they like do all this kind of human stuff that a spider would never do. It doesn't make any, like drinking alcohol. Like, what the fuck is a spider drinking alcohol for? What are you talking about? Makes no sense. And it's kind of cool because you learn about spiders. Like, the male spiders carry their children on their back, and they have like this paternal fur that they hold on to, and like, so the spider characters are pretty cool, but it's kind of dumb at the same time. It's real dumb. The Chinese people, the Chang Ho, they're in a spaceship that's been traveling with a fleet for so many thousands of years. It's kind of the one interesting part of the book that I like, is that the software that their computers and stuff runs on is so old. It's like layered upon layers upon layers of code that nobody can understand because nobody really like know how the original code was written. All they know is like, if we change this kind of happens, and change this kind of happens. So in order to make people smart enough to like run the ship and like figure out plans, like they don't really explain any of this either. It's like they got these people that are kind of like druggies, but they're not on drugs. They're on this thing called focus, which if you put like 12, 20, 100 people in a room, and they all like, you guys all focus on figuring out like the movement of the planets and like where we're gonna like shoot these missiles or something, like that's the whole thing they're focused on. And there's other group of people that are like, you're all focused on like intercepting the spider language and translating it to what we would understand, which maybe that kind of explains why the spider descriptions of them drinking alcohol and wearing top hats and shit was so weird, is because it's like a human trying to interpret what they're seeing from spiders, and they're kind of on drugs, and it's like not really what is actually happening. But I mean, you have to be super intellectual to even understand this book, much less like enjoy it, because it is just drags on like page after page. Like normally, I'm reading like Robin Hobb right now, fantasy author. She's great. I read like 60 pages tonight. This, you could read like 10 pages like all day long. You're like, oh my god, I've only read 10 pages, and you would like kind of read a paragraph and you'd zone out and you would look back and you're like, oh, I gotta reread that. I don't know what the hell I just read. And they talk about things like localizers. They never tell you what a localizer is. I still don't know. I read the whole goddamn book. But one guy controls a bunch of localizers, and he can... I think they have something to do with like sensors or cameras, and like he can see stuff with them. And like, what are they floating around? Are they? What are they? What is a fucking localizer? I don't know. There's all these terms he just talks about, and he never explains what it is. Like the characters, he never explains what anybody looks like. I'm assuming they're just all Chinese, so they probably all look kind of the same. So their names are all kind of like. Not really that Chinese, but like Kiwilin Lissalet and Ezra Vin and Trud Silapan and who was the main character? He had like a Pham Nguyen, Pham Trinley was his original name, and he became like a spy sort of. He changed his name to Pham Nguyen. So then I'm like, wait, that's a different guy or the same guy? I got confused because you get so bored with this, you put it down and you pick it back up and you read it and you're like, you don't remember who's. Like, he likes this Trixie Abonsal, but then later Kiwi Van Lissalet or whatever is supposed to be, like, his love interest, and, like, you don't really understand any of their relationships because it's so confusing. Also, the time thing is because, like, they're traveling so far, they have, like, pods that they sleep in for hundreds of thousands of years, and they wake up and they go on watch. So then they kind of know different people that they were on watch with because they happen to be awake at the same time as them. And there's just all kinds of like subterfuge and like plotting and planning through all these thousands of years while the spiders are evolving and learning space travel. And the spiders' names are like Hrunkner Unnerby and what was that one guy's name? Victory Smith. What was the main dude's name? Shirkener Underhill. That's a cool spider name. But, I don't know. I'd highly recommend you stay away from this. It will piss you off. But, yeah. They finally, like, the humans had to kind of have a civil war between themselves, and he kind of, like, did some subterfuge, and, like, Pham Nguyen, whatever his old name was, took over at the last second, and his daughter kind of like communicated with the spiders, and he like freed all the slaves of the people that were on the drugs. They called them the zip heads because they were on focus. They're focused people, focused persons, I guess is a politically correct way to say zip head. So he frees them all except Trixie Abonsal. She like really did not want to stop being on the focus. She kind of liked translating the spider language, so they left her to like be an interpreter and kind of like be a bridge between humans and the spiders. It's kind of cool, I guess. So then he kind of like gave 12 years of like, we're going to like talk with these spiders for 12 years and we're going to go back and we'll try to free all the slaves of all the human empire with like a handful of ships, which doesn't even make sense. Like, how are you going to do that? So, I don't know what the third book is going to be, because this is like has nothing to do with the first book. This is a part of a series. The first book was about like packs of dogs that all are like one being, and like this brother and sister, prince and princess or something from humans, like crash land on a planet or something like that. Can't really remember. Like, I don't know if this is going to combine with that one, and the third book will be like where they go and like try to free the slaves from this book, or if it's going to be from a totally different thing, or it's going to be like combine the first and the second book. I mean, the scale is too big. This is kind of like too ambitious, is what it was. He tried. It's a pretty good story, but it's not told well because he got too deep into it. He got too deepness in his sky, and he fucked it up. And they could have made it way shorter and it would have been just as good. But it just kind of droned on and on and on and on and would not stop. Oh, there's also a giant diamond moon or something that's floating around the sun. I don't know. I 1 star for this one. This one just pissed me off. It's bad. Anyway, now I'm reading Ship of Magic, so just breezing through that. It's like back to fantasy butter. Just easy to read. It's enjoyable.